Yo, what's up everyone? So today we're going to be taking a look at a really budget-friendly CPU cooler. It's from a company called Thermalright, and it is called the Assassin X 120R SE. Pretty long name. But Thermalright's been around for quite a while now. They're pretty well known for making good price to performance products. And we're going to see if this thing's worth $23 to upgrade from the stock CPU cooler that you get with your CPU. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So for those of you that might have watched Gamers Nexus video over the Assassin Spirit, I believe that this is the newer model that's replaced it. But yeah, let's go ahead and unbox it, what we have in here. So we have this little pamphlet. I'm assuming it goes over the parts list and how to assemble it. Styrofoam. We have the mounting hardware for AM4 and Intel. We have the brackets, some thermal paste, which we're going to be using our own thermal paste. I have some Arctic MX4 that I'm going to be using. The fan that's going to go on the cooler. And then here we go. All right, it's pretty nice actually. Now, instead of an enclosed cold plate, this does have 4 exposed heat pipes on the bottom of its cold plate, which shouldn't really be a problem. But moving on from that, let's go ahead and take a look at the installation process. So this build is using an AM4 motherboard, so we're going to use the red AM4 standoffs, which will go in these 4 corners. And this is really easy. All you have to do is just push them in and connect it to the motherboard's backplate. And to make this process quite a bit easier for you, I do recommend laying the PC down on its side when you install it instead of doing it like this. Now the next step is to install these 2 brackets onto the standoffs we just pushed in, using the screws included. So what I did to make things a little bit easier, and probably what you want to do too, is just hand tighten the screws and then afterwards go back with the screwdriver and fully tighten them. And then once they're all tightened, this is how it should look. Now the third step is to put the thermal paste on the CPU. Don't forget this step, it's really important. Now I'm not using the paste that came with the cooler because I had an extra tube laying around, but if you don't have an extra tube, it does come with some. Now finally, we're going to take the heatsink, take off the plastic that's on the bottom, line up the 2 screws on both sides of the cooler with the center holes in the brackets, and then use your screwdriver to lightly tighten and then alternate each side until it's fully tightened so that way you get even pressure. And for the 4th step, we're going to attach the fan to the heatsink using the fan clips that come included with it. And this was actually my very first time using this fan clip system. I know it's really common, I'm just not very familiar with air coolers. I always use AIOs and whatnot. But you're just going to insert the fan clips into the 4 corner holes on the fan itself. Now this next step is probably the hardest step, and it's really not even hard. I just struggled with it because of the way my camera was set up in between me and the computer. But you're going to take those clips and hook it over the radiator fins. It might be a little bit awkward at first, but if you mess around with it enough, you'll be able to get it. Also, sorry if this isn't the best viewing angle. The way I had my setup, the camera in between me and the computer, I had to lean over it and was trying to do it like that, and it was difficult. But I have faith in you, and once you get it hooked on, this is what it should look like. And now for the final step. You're going to take the 4-pin fan wire and connect it to the 4-pin CPU fan header on your motherboard. And this other wire is the one that controls your ARGB. You're just going to take it and plug it into your motherboard's 5-volt ARGB header. And then once it's all plugged in, you can just try to tuck the wires behind the heatsink to make it look a little bit cleaner. And if everything went smoothly, when you power on the PC, it should light up and start spinning. So for this testing, we are going to have the glass side panel installed on our LAN-cooled 205 mesh. And if we take a look over here, we can see that the Ryzen 5600X with the included stock cooler installed, it's sitting about 41 degrees Celsius when idle. I have seen it bump up to 45, but then it drops down to 41 again. Now let's go ahead and open up Cinebench and start the multi-core test. And pretty much immediately, we can see that the CPU temp is already shot up to about the mid to high 70s. Let's go ahead and let this run for a bit. So after about 5 minutes of running the multi-core test on Cinebench, it has steadied out about 83, 82 degrees Celsius, but let's go ahead and let it finish. Okay, so the test is finishing up now, As you can see, it did hit 84 degrees Celsius, but that was the highest I think I saw it. And if we take a look at the score, we can see that we got a 10,195 points. And with the stock cooler test out of the way, let's go ahead and test the Thermalright Assassin X120 RSE. Alright, now we have the Thermalright Assassin X120 RSE, such a long name, installed, and we can see that the idle temps are already about 7 degrees cooler than the stock cooler. But let's go ahead and open up Cinebench and run the multi-core test. And pretty much as soon as we start the test, we can see that temperature shoot up to about 61 degrees Celsius, which is about 14-ish degrees cooler than it was with the stock cooler. But let's go ahead and let the test run, and we'll see what it's like at 5 minutes. Alright, so after about 5 minutes of running the test, it looks like we've leveled out at about 65 degrees, 64 degrees Celsius. So I'd say about 18-ish degrees cooler compared to the stock cooler. But let's go ahead and let this test finish and see what it's like at the end. Alright, so the test is now finishing up, and we can see that the temperature really hasn't changed that much. It's still sitting about 64, 65 degrees Celsius compared to the stock cooler, which topped out at 84 degrees Celsius. So I'd say it's about a 19 degrees difference, which for the price is actually pretty good. But let's go ahead and take a look at the score and see what we got. So not a huge difference, but we did get a slightly higher score at 10,620. And that pretty much wraps everything up as far as the testing goes. In conclusion, for the $23 price tag, I would say it's a worthy upgrade compared to a stock cooler that you would get with your CPU. Personally though, I would probably only use this with a Ryzen 5 tier CPU or an Intel equivalent, maybe a Ryzen 7, but definitely nothing higher than that, since the Ryzen 7 would probably be putting it right there at its uppermost limits. Anything higher than that, you'd be better off just spending the extra money if you're able to. Now do keep in mind that while yes, it will bring the temperature down on your CPU, and you may see some higher scores in a synthetic benchmark like Cinebench, that doesn't necessarily translate into real world scenarios like in gaming. You might notice a few extra FPS here and there in certain titles, but overall you won't notice a difference at all. Pretty much the main reason for this product is to more efficiently cool your CPU and to avoid thermal throttling, which would lead to performance degradation. And I mean, in the world of PC enthusiasts, it's always nicer to see a smaller number when it comes to temperatures. But yeah, hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're not already, and definitely make sure to click that bell notification icon to stay up to date with all future videos. And if you have any extra questions, make sure to leave them down in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them if I can. But appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.